It started on a quiet Tuesday night, the kind of night where the street lights hum and you think maybe you'll get home without anyone noticing you. Elias Thorne had just left a youth center on the edge of town, sweat still clinging to a shirt from an evening of mentoring kids who'd been written off just like he once was. He wasn't rich. He wasn't famous. But in that moment, he felt like he mattered. He had given them words about hope, about patience, about not giving up when everything seems fixed against you. He carried those words with him as he slid behind the wheel of his old car. But hope only carries so far when the lights go red and blue behind you. He saw them flare in the rear-view mirror, that sick, heavy feeling dropping in his stomach, and he whispered to himself, "Not again." Out of the cruiser stepped Officer Derek Stone, a heavy-set cop with a smirk baked into his face. "License and registration," he barked, but it wasn't a question. He leaned down, eyes scanning Elias like a broken appliance. "Driving through here at night, huh? Smells like trouble to me." Elias kept his hands glued to the wheel, speaking slow. "Careful. I didn't do anything wrong, sir. My lights are working. You can check." But Derek wasn't interested in lights or rules. He tore through Elias's car, tossing gym shoes, papers, even a bottle of water onto the asphalt. Then, with a flick of his wrist, he slipped a small white packet under the back seat. Elias saw it, his nails dug into his palms, but he stayed still, tasting blood where he bit his lip. Across the street, hidden behind a tree, a young journalist named Sarah Jenkins had been walking home from an assignment. She froze, phone already in hand, camera rolling. She caught the packet drop, caught the sneer, caught everything. Later, she'd say she didn't even think about it, just knew if she didn't film it, nobody would ever believe it. 2 nights later, Elias stood alone in a county courtroom. No lawyer, just him, a stack of papers, and the truth. Across from him sat Stone, crisp uniform, polished badge, lying smoothly into the microphone. Reckless driving, drugs under the seat, resisting arrest, each word like a blade. Judge Wallace, stone-faced on the bench, kept nodding, waving off Elias's attempts to show the video. "We don't admit unverified footage here," he said flatly. When Elias's turn finally came, he laid out his timeline, his clean test results, his work at the youth center. He stayed calm, steady, even as the gallery whispered. And then he looked Stone dead in the eye and said, "You know what you did? You planted that. You can't hide it forever." Stone snapped. He slammed his hands on the table, veins bulging, and hissed, "People like you always got excuses." Judge Wallace tapped his gavel once, but didn't really mean it. And then, in a moment that would ricochet around the world, Stone lunged across the aisle and drove his fist into Elias's face. A heavy, brutal punch that echoed off the wood-paneled walls. Blood splattered onto the tile. The room went dead silent. Elias staggered but didn't fall. He wiped the blood from his lip, stood steady, and said low enough for everyone to hear, "You just hit the wrong man." Phones shot up. Flashes blinked. Someone gasped. It was like the world tilted right then. Before anyone could process it, the courtroom door slammed open. A line of U.S. Marshals in dark suits swept in, their shoes hammering the floor like a drum roll. The lead marshal's voice cut through the tension. "Elias Thorne is not a civilian defendant. He is a newly appointed federal judge under seal." The gallery gasped. Judge Wallace went pale. The marshals laid down sealed documents bearing the Justice Department seal. Stone's face collapsed. All that arrogance drained out, replaced by panic. "No, no way," he stammered, backing up, hand twitching near his belt. And then, in a frenzy of rage and terror, he yanked his service pistol and leveled it at Elias's chest. The gallery screamed. Phones shook. Marshals raised their weapons, but held fire. Elias was in the line. Elias didn't move. He stood tall, blood still on his mouth, eyes fixed on the barrel pointed at him. "Justice doesn't bow to your gun," he said quietly. Stone's finger trembled on the trigger. The whole room held its breath, and then a single shot cracked through the air from somewhere off to the side, shattering the window. The bullet hit Stone in the shoulder, and then the chest. He dropped the gun, eyes wide, and collapsed in a heap at Elias's feet. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then the screaming started. That night, Sarah's video went online. By dawn, millions had seen it. The punch, the smear of blood, the gun, the shot, all of it raw, undeniable. Hashtags exploded, streets filled. Protesters painted Elias's words, "You just hit the wrong man," on cardboard signs, murals, and t-shirts. For the first time in years, people of every age and color marched together. Meanwhile, investigators poured into Stone's precinct. Boxes of complaints came out. Broken ribs, slammed car hoods, planted evidence. A whole career of violence hidden under paperwork. And then the real bombshell, a leak of emails and memos tying Stone's protection to a network of state politicians who had quietly buried complaints, calling it maintaining order. It wasn't a bad apple. It was a machine. Weeks later, Elias finally agreed to speak. Not on TV, not in Congress, but on a simple stage in a public square. No bodyguards, no teleprompter. Just him, a mic, and tens of thousands pressed shoulder to shoulder. He still had a faint purple bruise on his cheek. He looked out at the crowd, breathed deep, and began. "I know why you're here," he said softly. "You want to know what happened to me? But this isn't about me. I survived. That's the only difference. Out there, too many people never got this far. They didn't have a Sarah with a phone. They didn't have marshals show up in time. They didn't have a badge waiting to shield them. They were silenced, buried, forgotten. I'm standing for them." He finished with 5 words, plain and devastating. Justice has no color. The roar that followed was less a cheer than a release. Years of tension breaking loose. A whole country saw something it can't unsee.